The What It Takes Radio Company presents interesting ideas. And here's an idea for you. Could it be that I may have been the very first podcaster? That's right, the very first one. And how that might be helpful to you even today. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Stan Houston, Stan the Radio Man for What It Takes Radio. Here we are again with interesting ideas and perhaps just some things that might be helpful and useful to you in your life and business today. And just the other day, almost always on audio at that time, I do radio, which is audio, and I do video, which is radio with pictures, and sometimes I do both, and sometimes I just do one or the other. Hey, our commentary on the fact that probably Donald Trump will turn out okay. And now the interesting question will be is what's going to happen to Joe Biden? Will he win? Or if he doesn't win, will he be okay? Well, that is yet to be seen. But we're dealing with political as well as all kinds of chaos in our world today. And so hopefully some of us are discovering that we're going to have to be extra careful and extra special and extra committed to finding places of peace and quiet and rest. We're just going to have to be much more intentional about that in our world today. And so hopefully I can be an encouragement to you in doing that. However, I do want to bring up something that I think could be helpful to you and maybe a little bit entertaining to you. As you know, there are 3 or 4 things that I do well. I hope to do well, hope to be world class, but in many cases, I believe that I can honestly say I do them pretty well. First of all is how to do video and radio. I've been doing that for many, many years, and hopefully I do it well. Business coaching. I've been doing that for well over 30 years, and I think I've done that pretty well and still do it pretty well. I've taught people how to be a coach, the coaching experience, how to, in effect, make perhaps a living or at least be a better leader through coaching. And the coaching experience continues to carry on. But one of the things that is striking me again is the ability to help people understand that we do not have to surrender the world of media to the huge corporate and oftentimes corrupt interests that are all around us, all about us. In effect, YORS, you can have your own radio station. You could have your own radio program. And that's what we do. And it will help you in a variety of ways. Will it make you a lot of money? More than likely not. Will it help you be a lot better at what you do so that in what you do, you could make more money? That's a very good possibility. Could it help you with many of the causes and the things that are important to you? That's a possibility. But it's something that we all need to learn how to use today. It is one of the primary means of communication. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit of the story of how this happened. First of all, this may be, can you see it? The camera gets blocked off sometimes. This is an old-fashioned cassette. Remember cassettes? Yeah. By the way, when they first came out, they were state-of-the-art new technology. Before that, those of us in radio, we had these big 7-inch, 10-inch, sometimes 12-inch reels of recording tape that you would have to put onto a big tape recorder or tape player and then wind it around. And what happened was they made it so that all of that could be done with a machine that actually had this little piece in it, a cassette. I don't know if you can buy them anymore. I'm sure you can, but they're not usually commercially available in terms of how you'd get music today. There's even less and less CDs available as more and more people are using their own downloads and their own playing machines. However, I show that to you because it could be that I was one of the first to invent a podcast. Now, what you know, I think, I remember POD, pod. That means personal on demand broadcast. And it came from Steve Jobs, who invented the iPod. And many of us know what that was all about. Uh, Apple Computer came out with this little device that was able that you could put the music you wanted on it, and you could listen to just the music you put on it, the music you wanted that you had purchased, and you could play it whenever you wanted to. And that was nice. Just the music you wanted, whenever you wanted it, however you wanted. Well, of course, when the phone came in, now the phone takes care of not only your iPod, it takes care of so many other things. And the phone has now become almost everything combined with the iPad. Um, you probably don't need a phone, traditional phone. You don't need a traditional music player. You don't need a traditional camera anymore. All of that has changed and changed remarkably, and many of us would hope for the best. But again, who knows? But here's what happened is that after my return from my international overseas mission work, I still wanted to do radio. And I began to do little radio programs as best I could, except where would I put them? But I started to make recordings because I still had my cassette recorder, and it was still a very good one. I'd paid a lot of money for it. I mean, it was the broadcast cassette recorder. That's what the professionals working with the BBC, Radio Netherlands, that's the one they used. And that's the one I had. It was still sitting there at my desk. And so what I discovered, however, is that after my meetings with a client, um, coaching client, I wanted to follow up because a good consultant then sends some notes. You write out a little memo or a notes, and you send it to them, and then they can read it as kind of what we did, what we committed to, and that would take time and it would take a lot of effort, but it was important and it was part of the way we did that. Well, I discovered that those notes really weren't being read. They were busy. They were entrepreneurs. They were busy, and I found out that the rate of dyslexia among entrepreneurs is 2 or 3 times the national average. I found out 2 or 3 of them just really couldn't read very well. They were very bright and very, very smart, but reading was not their forte. Well, what I did is I went, and there were still lots of cassettes for sale. I bought a whole bunch of little 10 to 15-minute cassettes, not the big long ones. And after I would do a consulting session, I'd think about it, take a few notes, and then I would get in front of my microphone, and my tape recorder was there, and I would make a little audio radio program. Now, some people were making audio letters, but I did an actual program. I jazzed it up and put a little music to it, a little entertainment, and made a personal radio program just for them. And then obviously they could take it and they could put it in their car and listen to it. Their secretary didn't have to mess with it or read it or anything like that. They didn't have to read it. They could just listen to it. Uh, they loved it. They thought that was a great idea. It was so easy. In fact, I got business because what happened is I would oftentimes give ideas that would be helpful. And some of them would then share it with a trusted friend, that they say, hey, this is what I got from my coach. It's confidential. Some of it's just for me, but this is a good idea. Why don't you listen to it? And so what I was doing is I was making a program that they could listen to anytime, when they wanted to, wherever they wanted to, with their tape recorder or in their car. And I think that would qualify as a personal on-demand personal radio program. And that's what I did. Now, then I said, well, since people do that, why don't I then put them on the internet? And that's literally how some of the podcasting began. But of course, it never took off because we still had the problem that it was on a telephone, and so you had to go through the process of doing all that. Um, but as soon as broadband took off, so that everybody had access to the Wi-Fi and those kinds of elements and uh, things of that nature, um, 4 or 5 years ago, all of a sudden, those of us who had been experimenting with the podcast, uh, kind of doing it as a bit of a hobby, but using it in our business, the whole thing exploded. And now, of course, there are millions of people doing podcasts. But the idea was very simple, is that you could communicate. You could be your radio performer. You could be having your own personal radio program, and that you could put it on the air and people could listen to it whenever they wanted to, on whatever they wanted to, and then they could actually have a communication or a contact back. So that's what I have been doing. And right now, I have decided that I have been at least thoughtfully called to do it very seriously. And so, not only along with my coaching experience business and the new Jesus Entrepreneur Experience, which will be a podcast as well as a incredible coaching program, and our traditional coaching experience, we are now in the business of helping you learn how to use the video, how to use the radio, and how to use the mass marketing media that only the professionals could use, the big shots. And of course, the big shots are still in that business. Um, Walmart has their own podcast. Businesses have their own podcast. Many colleges have their own podcast. Many businesses now know that a podcast is the best way to reach their selected audience. And it has personality, it has energy. It's not just something written on a piece of paper. And if you combine the audio with the video, you have all of the sensory experiences there. And as I say, you don't just describe what you do, you demonstrate how good you are. So that's the story. And I'm going to encourage you, particularly in these times where a lot of us are re-examining our business models, our ways of communicating. Um, how can we be at our best? How can we learn to use the mass marketing medium, the audio, the video, the radio, on the digital platforms that are there? You'll need help to do it and to do it well, and that's what we can do. So please reach out to me, stanhusted@gmail.com, stanhusted@gmail.com, witradio.net, witradio.net. And if you'd like a little free coaching just to begin with, let me know. We can help you do that. The world is in troubled times. It needs voices of calmness, wisdom, insight, and truth. It needs people to tell their story. If you've been gifted with wisdom, insight, and truth, and a way to help people live better, share your wisdom, share your insight, share your truth. Do it with a sense of humor, by telling stories, by having a touch of entertainment, and also a touch of personal companionship and compassion. Companionship and compassion. Demonstrate that on your radio show, on your television show, and then be fully present and listen to people as well as speak and teach people. Listen to them. Not only be a good speaker, be a twice or 3 times as good listener. There we go. I'm done for today. Again, stanhusted@gmail.com. Best and blessings till next time. Bye for now.